This past weekend was the first grand challenge of the 2026 season, and I decided to bring Leaf Storm Amoonguss. Today we are going to talk about the grand challenge, the team I used, how and why I built it, and some fun highlights from the tournament along the way. Kicking things off, I think it's no surprise, as you see on your screen right here, that it was a sand team that I brought to the global challenge. And I really wanted to bring something that gave me control in my possession of the game. Normally when you play, I play balanced team. I am a balanced player, and yes, balanced teams do have ways to, enable board state and get to positions that they want to be at. However, I find in a grand challenge where it's closed team sheets, best of one, you really want to be able to manipulate the board state to your positioning whenever you necessarily want, right? Your concept here should be, I have a game plan, I'm going to go in and I'm going to execute said game plan. Whereas these general balance teams tend to be a little bit more reactive, especially because they're built for, the best of threes, the open team sheet style teams, right? Whereas in the grand challenge, I really wanted something that had a game plan and allowed me to play to said game plan. And this is where sand comes in. And especially my initial concept here that you guys can see at the bottom, which was your general sand build into T-Tar Excadrill. And it was actually Basque Legion to me that made this team go. It gave me that scarf piece that was faster. And the way I like to play sand is I like having, Excadrill up front, pressuring maybe a sand switch in at any point. But now this also gave me a very fast piece that was able to flip turn out, get some damage off, enable T-Tar to hit the board, and then have Excadrill do some massive damage even before your opponent attacks. Like, I could lead Excadrill Basque Legion into something like a Sneasler and click flip turn high horsepower and kill the Sneasler before it moved if I wanted to. Now granted, obviously that is a very linear line, but it is a line I was allowed to play to. And you can see I just kind of closed the team off with Annihilate because that's what Joe had and it felt like it was good. We'll get into the Annihilate later because I did end up really enjoying it on a team comp. And then Salamence and Rillaboom were like kind of there. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because this was version 1. And it was decent, right? It was decent enough. I did test this version on stream. I did build this version on stream, and it felt very strong on stream. I'm like, you know what? Let me try to fine-tune this concept. So I kind of kept what I liked, what I didn't like. I ended up getting rid of the Basque Legion for a bit before it eventually did come back. This second version here with the Volcarona, don't use it. It's bad. It was terrible. I don't know what I was cooking. The Sinistcha was cool. Which is why you can see that it stuck around moving forward. Just the ability to redirect the way the fighting moves was very, very solid. Then obviously I tried to close it out, get a little bit more bulk, more of my traditional style, throw the instant on the team. This was actually a inner focus Dragonite as well, which I was shocked at how much damage I was taking. I couldn't really be multi-scale because sand's just going to break it. Now, maybe I could have been, but, sand is just going to break my multi-scale. Why would I do that? So I'm going to go inner focus and I'm going to do damage. That was, it just didn't feel right. I definitely missed the multi-scale there. Maybe I should have tried it. But it was around this time that I remembered that Corviknight existed, and I probably should have remembered Corviknight existed before, but this was where Corviknight existed. Now obviously it's nothing new, it's nothing crazy, it's been around on sand teams in the past in Regulation H. However, I was trying to avoid, that common, so to speak, the Psy Spam Sneasler sand stuff, where you generally see, the Corviknight and the Sneasler and, the Indeedee male. I'm not a big Indeedee player. I don't like Indeedee as a Pokemon. I think it just creates a lot of annoying situations that I don't really want to be a part of. So, didn't want to play that, right? So I was trying to stray away from that when building this sand team. But Corviknight did end up coming back on a team here. Went back to the Rillaboom, went back to the Basque Legion, because now this gave me, I can flip turn. I can still flip turn, but instead of, going into sand, I can just click Earthquake and bring in Corviknight, set up Tailwind, then go into sand, or, lead Corviknight Excadrill, set up Tailwind, then go into sand, set up Tailwind, just click Earthquake. Gave me a little bit more options because it gave me that big physical bulky piece that was super, super nice, right? You don't die. If they're all physical attackers, you don't die. This piece does not die. It is phenomenal in that sense, and it gave me an extra win condition that I can be like, yeah, I just have to set up Corviknight. And that's something else that I really wanted to get the ability to do in this grand challenge. So moving on, I was like, okay, well, this is cool and all. The Rillaboom's doing damage. The Basque Legion is doing damage. My issue here was outside of Corviknight, I really couldn't like switch into anything. I didn't have a switch in. I didn't have a piece that was, going to keep my other pieces alive. And that's where the Amoonguss came from. So this will be the final build of the team. You do see Leaf Storm here. We'll get into why I have Leaf Storm in a bit. But first, a quick highlight. That's mono normal. Oh my god. Uh-oh. Did I toss this? I lose. Okay, maybe not. Never mind, maybe not. I'm faster. I just need to live the Blood Moon. But I don't even know if I do that. Let's go, Corv. If I had a nickel for every time I have played a mono-type team in the GC, I would have 2 nickels. But don't you think it's weird that it happened twice? So as I said before, guys, this is the common sand team you are going to see, right? T-Tar, Excadrill. No one's really out here trying to run Houndstone. No one's out here trying to run Hippowdon. Now, granted, I think Houndstone technically does have a niche. I wasn't about trying to explore it, so we're going to go with the Excadrill T-Tar. I think beating the 3 big steel types into format with Excadrill is phenomenal, so that's why it's here. This is why this is the main sand team. And there's not a lot to say here, right? Your traditional Tyranitar, you're going to Terra Flying so that you can Earthquake beside it with your Excadrill. You're going to have your Rock Slide, your Knockoff, your Low Kick to beat that King Gambit. And you're going to have that Terra Blast Flying because it's very good into some of the opposing grass types. And you're just going to have a T-Tar spread. I am going to preface, I messed up my T-Tar spread in the Grand Challenge. I did not get this in my game, unfortunately. This is what I probably would have ran if I had the chance to get it, or if I got it correctly. Mine was like stuck at like 93 speed, so I didn't actually end up outpacing Sneasler in Tailwind when I added Tailwind to the team. So that was really annoying to deal with in the GC. So that was definitely a mess up on my end. But this spread, I mean, you can do a lot, right? You don't necessarily need this much attack, but I wanted to hit the jump at 198, right? I want it to be faster than the Sneasler in Tailwind, right? Maybe I'm supposed to go up to 96 so I'm not speed tying a bunch of Ursalunas and stuff like that, right? There's a lot of different things you can do with a T-Tar spread. This one felt very serviceable. Would have been nice if I actually had used it in the Global Challenge, but unfortunately, didn't happen. But this is the spread I would have used. So when the rental comes out at the end of this video, guys, it will not have this spread. It'll be a little bit slower, which is super unfortunate. But overall, this is the T-Tar that is meant to be. Excadrill, Focus Sash. Once again, your standard sand Excadrill. High horsepower, Iron Head, Earthquake for spread, and protect. I did test Adamant for a little bit because I was like, oh, everybody's going to have to expect and they're going to have to respect the fact that I'm just faster than them. But there were a lot of end games and spots in games where I'm like, it would be great if I just knew that I 100% was faster. Like, I just wish I was faster here to kill this thing because then it would guarantee it, and it just makes my line so much simpler. So I went with Jolly, as I think you need to. Maybe you can get away with Adamant in like best of 3, but right here, I wanted to make sure that I was outpacing things, especially if it came down to like an end game where it was like 1 HP Excadrill versus a Goldengo. I want to make sure I'm faster than every single Goldengo, unless of course they're like Scarf or something like that. But just in case an end game came down to it, I wanted to be faster. I did lose a little bit of damage, but it really wasn't a big issue. Excadrill was solid overall. Super happy with how it played out. Moving on, once again, we'll get to the Basculegion and the Amoonguss later. Let's go Annihilate, just because this is kind of a piece that's been picking up outside of the Grand Challenge as well. It's just a good piece. It's just a very good Pokemon. We've seen some variants with Focus Sash. Obviously, I can't do that on a Sand team. Goggles just makes way more sense there. But yeah, close combat, nothing new. Big damage into the Steel types, into the Fighting types. Sorry, big damage into Steel types, into the Dark types. And Rage Fist, of course, also nothing new on Annihilate. You're just going to have this piece that is able to set up if they start chipping you down slowly, and then Rage Fist does big damage. Coaching, once again, also nothing new. I wanted to be able to boost the Corviknight, the Excadrill, the T-Tar. Honestly, you could almost boost the Amoonguss too for defense boosts if you wanted to. Never really came up, but technically you could do that. Boost the Basculegion as well. Once again, that doesn't come up too often. but you technically could do it. It's something you are legally allowed to do. The big thing here for me was Final Gambit. I think it is absolutely wild that I'm just basically allowed to say, I don't want to deal with you anymore, goodbye. Like, the fact that I'm allowed to do that is disgusting. Like, I don't know how else to say it, right? Like, obviously, when you see it in an open team sheet format, it's like, okay, I have to respect it. You have to respect that I could click it. But in closed team sheets, your opponent doesn't know you have it. You don't know if they're going to respect it. It is actually a wild move to try and use in a grand challenge. And there's actually a lot beside it, like a lot of skill in it. It's not just as simple as like, oh yeah, I'm going to take this piece off the board. GG, easy, right? It is very difficult to use because there's games where it's like, well, I really want to click Final Gambit here, but if they switch, I'm in trouble. Or, you know, you send the Final Gambit, you get the turn wrong, you lose your Annihilate, and then 2 turns later, you're like, man, I really wish I would have had my Annihilate here. So there's definitely obviously skill involved in when you're allowed to send a Final Gambit in making those positive trades with this piece. But when you figure it out and you get these trades right, Final Gambit Annihilate is actually disgusting. Terra Water is what I went with. I didn't really want to have another piece that was weak to ground. I do think Fire would have ended up being a little bit better throughout the run. But that's up for debate. That's really just whichever way you want to look at that. But overall, the spread, guys, not a lot to do here. 156, you got to go max speed on these apes. Pretty much every Annihilate now, or most of the Annihilates now, are just max speed. So you want to be outpacing, you know, stuff like the Jolly Excadrills. You want to be outpacing the Timid Archalodons, right? So you just basically go max speed here. Especially if you're going to try and remove stuff, you want to be moving first with the Final Gambit. You really only need to be at 207 here. This was me for a global challenge being like, you know, it would be funny because, like, I've debated this on a couple of my Pokemon to sit at, like, you know, 208 because some of these Annihilates, like I said, are going to be at the 207 because you take out the base 100s, right? That's really where you need to be. So I'm like, if I can get a couple of my Pokemon that are higher health than that, sit at, like, 208, I don't need them to be all the way at, you know, the 218 mark or the 217 mark, whatever it is for max HP Annihilate, right? So I was like, you know what? If anybody else is trying to do that, let's just, like, you know, scam them a little bit here. It ain't really need the damage, so we'll go up to 209 in case anybody else wants to sit at, like, 208, 209, just to sit ahead of, you know, the 207 that was popular. This never really comes up. You probably don't need to do this, but that was just me, kind of something I saw that could be funny in a GC, so I ran with a little bit of extra HP. You can drop that to 207. You can just go max HP if you really want to. Lots you can do there. Attack, just whatever you have left in attack. Probably could have gone up to 68. I just don't like spreads that are like 3. I like seeing 5 stats being invested in, but that's just a personal preference. Overall, Ape, very, very funny mon. Very, very good mon. And I think it's time to... talk about why the hell I brought Leafstorm Amoonguss. So... this is kind of the concept of the team, okay? When I got to this spot in the team, I was like, okay, well, I want to have something to deal with, like, the Dondozo stuff. And I want to have something, you know, that actually pressures the water types. Because when I dropped Rillaboom, it was very hard to hit a water type, right? Like, this team doesn't hit water types. So I'm like, you know what? Technically, if I have Leafstorm on Amoonguss, it's the best of both worlds. Because, one, it will hit the water types that I want. And versus some of the Dondozos, it doesn't matter that I'm dropping my special attack stat because they're unaware anyway. So the Leaf Storm is always going off at the full power into that extent. And this is something that was very strong throughout the GC. I got a lot of KOs. There's going to be a montage on the screen at some point of me picking up KOs with Amoonguss. They're not ready for it. No one's ready for it. Get out of here. Why does it do I? Thank you, Amoonguss. Yippee! Amoonguss, buddy. Spore. Very, very consistent Amoonguss move. I recommend using it. Everything else is normal, guys. It's an Amoonguss spread. I went Terra Psychic just because, like, if there was a world where Psy Spam ended up becoming a problem, I could, you know, Terra Psychic out of the Expanding Force, put something to sleep, and then try to work my other pieces in. T-Tar on its own, very good to Psy Spam, though. I don't think I clicked Amoonguss' Terra once throughout the tournament, but it was there. Not really important. Citrus Berry, just because I was using this piece as something that was going to switch in to hits. And yeah, Covert Cloak is cool on Amoonguss, but I find it's better when you're like your game plans evolve. You know, I'm gonna lead Amoonguss and I'm gonna be disruptive. That was never really the game plan with this team. Amoonguss was the switch-in, so the longevity and just the extra health from the Citrus Berry was very, very solid. Once again, probably could go to 218 on this HP stat just to make more sense with the Citrus Berry. Not really relevant, not really all that important, but you definitely could have done that. I didn't bother. I wanted to sit, once again, like I said before, slower than those Ursalunas in Trick Room, so that's why the 27 speed IVs. Once again, you have tons of options. You can go a little bit faster if you want to go like Tailwind Spore for really fast spores if you wanted to. I don't know why you would ever want to do that, but hey, you know what? If you see something and you saw the niche, run it. Overall, though, we get to see, once again, just your standard Amoonguss. Bulky, offensive. Not very offensive, sorry, but I did put the 4 in special attack, so I did end up losing 4 EVs in bulk, or 8 EVs in bulk, I should say. So 1 point of bulk I sacrificed for a little bit in special attack, but it did change a few Leaf Storm calcs to a little bit more favorable, so I wanted to go with that. But overall, pretty standard Amoonguss, guys. You could just run Pollen Puff if you really want to build this a little bit more consistently. Maybe even Clear Smog was good. It's funny, it's interesting that the one Dondozo I did play in this GC, it was a flying Terra Blast, so yeah, Leaf Storm and Amoonguss did not help me there. But yeah, you know, that's what it is. Anyways, the most useless Basculegion ever. Outside of winning 1 speed tie, this guy was awful. Outside of winning 1 speed tie in 1 critical game, this guy sucked. It's cool. I still see the concept for it on the team. I still see the vision for it on the team. I really, really, really wish for the challenge that I made it Terra Grass. Maybe not Terra Blast at that point, but I really do wish I would have made it Terra Grass. Just resisting Grassy Glide from Rillaboom would have been phenomenal throughout the entire Grand Challenge. Right? Like, there was a lot of opportunities where it's like, well, I have Basculegion, I want to switch, but I have T-Tar and Excadrill in the back. And there was one game where I was like, oh, I'm going to go Basculegion Ape with T-Tar Excadrill in the back. And I'm like, they led Rillaboom. I think I lose. So at least having some sort of way to, you know, maybe give myself a chance versus Rillaboom would have been good with the Terra Grass. But overall, it didn't really do much. The concept was cool. It came to a few matchups. It won some games. It was pretty useless. It didn't feel very good throughout the tournament. I don't know if it really belongs on sand. Maybe it's just this build that it doesn't belong on. Maybe it does belong on sand in general. Regardless, though, it didn't feel all that great. I had a better ghost type anyways 90% of the time in Annihilate. Never really got a chance to go for, you know, the funny, you know, flip turn into T-Tar for sand or flip turn into Corviknight for EQ, right? Never got a chance to get through any of that or take care of any of that, so didn't really feel all that great throughout the tournament, but maybe there is still maybe there still is merit for this guy to be around here, but I didn't enjoy it. Once again, this was to live Grassy Glide, because like I said, I'm not trying to die to Grassy Glide. This was for the living the 116 Adamant Grassy Glides. Unfortunately, it's in the GC. You never know if they're just going to be Miracle Seed and kill you anyways. So, a little unfortunate there. Didn't really love this Basculegion, but not much I can really do about that now. It was okay. It was fun. Nothing other than that. Not much more to say. Now, Corviknight, however, Corviknight was goated. Okay? This Pokemon single-handedly won me so many games just because your opponent couldn't kill it. There is not a lot of special attackers in the format right now, and being able to, like I said before, remove them whenever I want with Annihilate effectively is actually very good, and it gave me a lot of endgames and a lot of playability to where I can go Annihilate Corviknight, and I can start getting set up with Corviknight. And as long as I'm preserving the Ape to just remove that special attacker whenever I want, it works out very, very well. Now, obviously, like I said when I was talking about the Ape, it's not that simple. You know, I can't just walk in and kill whatever I want and keep moving, right? There is still merit to it and still skill to piloting and when you're dropping that final gambit. But having it beside this Corviknight felt really, really good because generally speaking, there's only 1 or 2 special attackers on a team. And if you can get that one that they brought that's going to deal with the Corviknight, you get rid of it, you are golden. There was a lot of games where it's like, oh, it's Ursaluna Sneasler. Okay, have fun. You're not breaking this. I played mono normal at one point. You're not breaking this. You know, like there were a lot of teams that just cannot break Corviknight, whether it's after a bulk up. Maybe I'll just tailwind and side coaching, and then it's effectively getting a bulk up, right? A lot of options for Corviknight. Body press could have been very, very cool. I would have wanted to put body press on this. I don't think it's necessary. Overall, though, very cool, very, very cool Corviknight. Speed stats, not really much to say. I want it to be fast. 96 felt like it was one of those ones where it's going to be that common one for outpacing Sneasler in Tailwind, because 95 is where, like, you know, the Ursaluna sits. It's easy to sit at 95 and outpace Sneasler. So I want it to be a little bit faster than that, maybe get a Tailwind up before an opposing Corviknight got a Tailwind up. You know, maybe just have that little bit of extra damage that are going to allow me to do this. I think this also outpaces Kilowattrel. It actually outpaces Talonflame too. So I can Tailwind and be faster than Talonflame, because Talonflame hits at 195. 98 times 2 would be 196. So that's probably what I was thinking there. But overall, really good fast damage. Speed creeps a few other speed creepers. And gets Tailwind up. Really good Pokemon. I was going to go like Adamant. And I was going to go like Adamant 100. So that way +1 Brave Bird was like shredding the Amoongusses. But I figured I didn't really need to do that. If Amoonguss wanted to put me to sleep, okay. I could just like not care about it. Like I could just move around. I can try to get Annihilate onto the board with the safety goggles. I felt like I had the playability around the Amoonguss, so I didn't need that. And the bulk was super, super nice, right? Like, oh, you're going to close combat with the Sneasler. Oh, you did 48%? That's cool. Let's move on. You know, let's roost that up, get a bulk up off, and a roost up next turn. So there was a lot of positions where they had a lot of physical attackers, and they just can't break Corviknight, guys. Other than that, pretty much rest is dumped into HP and special bulk. Overall, very, very solid piece. Still wanted to do a little bit of damage with the attack stat here. Could have made this like even if I really cared, but I don't think it really matters, right? Because I'm getting a +1 quite often, right? So technically, this should in theory be even. It technically makes those numbers a little bit nicer. I don't think it really matters all that much. Maybe if I was taking this to a regional, I would strongly consider that change, something along those lines. But overall, Corviknight, one of the biggest MVPs of the tournament, by the way. Very slept on Pokemon in this format right now, especially if you compare it beside. I think Corviknight plus ground type is very, very solid. Plus ways to deal with the special attackers, like the Archaludon is the big one. You cannot bring this Corviknight to the Archaludon matchups. Just because if you lose your positioning and you can no longer kill Arch. I lost a lot of games where they just had late game Archaludon, and I'm like, well, now Corviknight unfortunately never gets through this because, you know, I've lost my Annihilate and the Archaludon's still there. So definitely want to be able to deal with the rain stuff and the Archaludon stuff a little bit better if you're going to bring Corviknight to like a regional or anything like that. But definitely a slept on mod in this in this format right now. Very, very, very cool cook. This is officially terrifying. It actually is going to be weak armor. At least it's not going to be policy from me. Take yourself out. Take yourself out. Let's go! That's just going to be about it for the video, guys. You guys can see my rating on the screen right now. It wasn't the best run. I wasn't super happy with it. I did win 30 games and only lost 15. Like, it's a decent record, but I was definitely looking for more when it comes to a global challenge and the kind of results that I'm trying to put out onto the board. Overall, really, really fun team. Hopefully you guys can take some of the concepts and enjoy it. Enjoy testing out the team. Once again, link will be down below to the PokePaste. I will also put the rental code down below. Once again, keep in mind on that rental code that TTAR is going to be the incorrect spread. So do keep that in mind. I don't think the rental is really necessary. There's not even an in-game ladder. There's a lot of changes I would make to this team if you're going to take this to like an actual best of 3 tournament. Honestly, even if you're going to take it to a best of 1. But I think I did a good job of explaining that. So hopefully, guys, you guys picked up something. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this type of content. And I tried something new here, like trying to work like the GC highlights into the video as the team report. So like it wasn't all team report and it wasn't all highlight. Let me know what you guys think. I did think about it a little bit later than I would have liked. So some of the cutscenes and the transitions may not have been perfect. but hopefully the concept was still good. I'll try to do a better job at this moving forward into future grand challenges, because I think the concept is really, really good. I think I may have missed the mark, but let me know what you guys think of that concept. But with that, I'm gonna get out of here, and thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in a future video.